What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Birds. Glad to have you here listening to some 2021 fantasy football sleepers. Just a couple guys that we think are going way too low in drafts for the upcoming season. Just a couple weeks until we start off this season, so let me know in the comments what you think about these sleepers. If you think they are going way too low in drafts, or if you think you got some other guys that you think are going criminally undervalued into 2021. Let us know in the comments. But let's hop right into these sleepers for 2021 fantasy football. First guy we're going to talk about today is Brandin Cooks for the Houston Texans. A lot to say about Brandin Cooks here. Yes, his value is tied to Deshaun Watson playing the seasons, but that risk is built into his average draft position. Going in the 8th or 9th round, if you're going to tell me that Deshaun Watson plays all 17 games in the 2021 season, Brandin Cooks is going to be a 4th round pick for me. 5 out of 6 years, Brandin Cooks has put over 1,000 yards. That's unbelievable consistency for a guy coming into the NFL. Yes, he had some better quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, but he also performed with Jared Goff in Los Angeles. Yes, Sean McVay was a great offensive-minded coach, got him involved in the system, but there's also guys like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp on that team that he had to split some time with. So Brandin Cooks, 1,000 yards, 5 of the last 6 seasons. That's exceptional performance. In 2020, Brandin Cooks was the wide receiver, 16.5 PPR. So getting him in the 8th round, regardless whether Deshaun Watson plays or not, if Deshaun Watson doesn't play and the quarterback position for the Houston Texans is below average, Brandin Cooks is still going to see positive game script, constantly being down on one of the worst football teams in the National Football League, Houston Texans, one of the lowest projected win totals for the season. So we're seeing positive game script, always needing to throw the ball in these large deficit games. And can anyone name a wide receiver on the Houston Texans? I mean, if you're not a Houston Texans fan, you're going to have a hard time naming any receiver on that team. So Brandin Cooks, the clear number 1 with Will Fuller leaving. Let's look at what Brandin Cooks did when Will Fuller actually exited the lineup with that suspension for PEDs. Over 11 targets a game for Brandin Cooks in the games without Will Fuller. Yes, it's a short sample size, but there was 3 or 4 games without Will Fuller that Brandin Cooks was clearly the number 1 wide receiver, clearly Deshaun Watson's favorite target. Like I said, even if Deshaun Watson isn't the quarterback coming into 2021, he's still going to be the number 1 wide receiver on this team by a very, very wide margin. So, Brandin Cooks, if Deshaun Watson does play, you're getting an incredible value in the 8th round. And even if Deshaun Watson isn't to play, you're still getting a wide receiver on a team that's going to be consistently down, throwing the football constantly. So, Brandin Cooks, a wide range of outcomes for him this season, but still in the 8th round, there's minimal risk to what you can be getting. You're getting a top 10 wide receiver if Deshaun Watson is the quarterback of this football team. If Deshaun Watson isn't the quarterback, you're still going to get a top 30 wide receiver going in the 8th round, which isn't terrible value. So Brandin Cooks, 5 straight 1,000 yard seasons. We love Brandin Cooks as a sleeper for 2021 fantasy football. Next guy we're going to talk about is Ryan Tannehill, quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. A lot of people, not a huge name in fantasy football, Ryan Tannehill. His career kind of tainted from his time in Miami when Adam Gase was the head coach, and we know how Adam Gase is the head coach. But yeah, Ryan Tannehill, not a huge name in fantasy, but what we have seen from Ryan Tannehill in a Tennessee Titans uniform, quarterback 7 and quarterback 9, the 2 seasons prior, and now he's going as quarterback 12. And what has happened this offseason? Yes, they lost Corey Davis. Yes, they lost Jonnu Smith, but they added a Hall of Fame wide receiver, Julio Jones. You're going to tell me a Julio Jones, A.J. Brown combination on the outside, best wide receiver duo in the National Football League. Hard to dispute that. Coming for Ryan Tannehill after quarterback 7 and quarterback 9 seasons on a per-game basis, and he's going as quarterback 12, makes absolutely no sense. Tennessee Titans defense, below average compared to the rest of the league, so you're going to expect some close games, keeping the ball moving through the air to stay competitive. Derrick Henry, sure, yes, he's going to be a great part of this offense. Huge volume monster on the ground. But we've seen Ryan Tannehill excels in the play-action game. Derrick Henry, a huge asset for that Ryan Tannehill play-action game. A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, we think can only excel Ryan Tannehill's value in fantasy football. Ryan Tannehill, yes, he might not have top 3 ceiling like some of the other quarterbacks. He's still a rushing quarterback. 7 rushing touchdowns from a year ago. That is great value for a quarterback you're getting outside the top 10 at the number 12 position where he's going right now. Over 30 yards a game on the ground. Love that floor from Ryan Tannehill with the Julio Jones, A.J. Brown duo on the outside. He's a clear smash pick for me if you aren't able to get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. So Ryan Tannehill, definitely a guy I'm targeting as a sleeper if I'm not able to get up Mahomes, Murray, Prescott, you name it, those top guys. Criminally undervalued at the number 12 overall position, given the fact that he's already been a top 10 quarterback the past 2 years, and now he gets a Hall of Fame wide receiver on his team. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Melvin Gordon. This might be a controversial pick here, given the fact that a lot of people are drinking the Javonte Williams Kool-Aid, and for good reason. Second-round running back out of North Carolina. Javonte Williams looks to be the future for this Broncos team. However, we're not playing dynasty fantasy football here. We're playing redraft football. Melvin Gordon's still the number one running back for this Broncos team. We've seen it in training camp. We've seen him getting the reps with the number one unit. Melvin Gordon's still a very solid running back in the National Football League. Javonte Williams, definitely the future of this team, definitely a long-term play. Melvin Gordon is not done producing in the NFL for this Broncos team. Coming in at RB13 from a year ago in half PPR leagues. Yes, he was disappointing considering you had to draft him in the 4th to 6th round a year ago, but you're getting him ADP in the 114 on Underdog Fantasy. And Underdog Fantasy, probably the most consistently accurate mock draft service you can use, given the fact that it's all users paying for each draft. So these very accurate numbers here. ADP of 114 for Melvin Gordon for a starting running back on a team with a quarterback of Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater that are going to lean into that run game to keep the ball moving. I love Melvin Gordon in Mile High. Even with Javonte Williams potentially being the starter later on in the season, we've seen these rookie running backs, it takes a while for them to get going into their offense, get them acquainted into the offensive scheme. Melvin Gordon should be the starting running back for the foreseeable future this season. Let's think about this from last year. Phillip Lindsay, over 130 carries vacated from this Broncos backfield. Yes, Javonte Williams going to scoop in, take a lot of those carries. But even if Javonte Williams takes some of the workload from Melvin Gordon, he's still going to be the lead back. He's still going to be producing in the red zone. Melvin Gordon actually 4 straight years with over 8 touchdowns. That is incredible consistency from a guy going later than the 10th round in fantasy drafts. I can't iterate enough how important it is to get Melvin Gordon this year in the 114 for the beginning of the season in redraft leagues. Javonte Williams, definitely a long-term play. I'm not disputing that. But Melvin Gordon should see great value in fantasy football beginning of the 2021 season. I love Melvin Gordon. Let me know in the comment section what you think about these 3 sleepers that I have for you today. But appreciate you watching. We'll see you next week with another episode of Fantasy Birds.